Today we'll continue our discussion of the business model canvas and we'll focus on the remaining elements. We'll talk a bit about partners, we'll talk a bit about resources and activities, and we'll also spend some time talking about the revenues and the expenses side of the business model. And so by revenue streams are essentially sales. So recognize that there are revenues, there are sales, there are expenses, and there are profit. So in that way, when you look at revenues and sales, we use those terms essentially synonymously. And so we're looking at in what ways is your business going to generate sales.
Is this yesterday's or is this part of business model 1 or 2?
2. Yep. So in that way, what we're looking at here is what are your different opportunities, be you a product, a services, an advertising, a hybrid, a licensing, a combination of a few of those in the hybrid model. What are your opportunities to generate revenue? Are they one-time? Are they recurring? Do they buy part of a product and then they're add-ons? Is it a freemium model where there are parts that are free but they can upgrade into paid pieces? Is it all free and totally ad? How do you know the right answer? How do you know what revenue model makes sense for your venture? You have to pick something, right? How do you know the right answer? What things can you do to determine what the right answer may be? Yep.
I would research my competitors.
Okay. Easy starting point is, well, what do competitors do? What are the norms in the industry? What do people expect? If you're going to start a cell phone company and you want to have full payment for the product as well as advance payment for all 2 years of service due at signing, and you're trying to charge people maybe 20% less than they would pay otherwise. So instead of them paying $2,000, they're only going to pay $1,500 or $1,600. Are people going to do that? No. Even if there's cost savings, rare is the person that's going to want to pay that lump sum in the beginning. And again, that's a simple example, but take a look at what competitors are doing. And what you can also do is, as you're talking with people about the product and getting some feedback on their ideas and their interest, kind of understand their willingness to pay and what you think they would pay and what the model for that may be. So again, willing to pay varies. And it varies on the person, and it varies on the scenario. What do we pay for a Band-Aid?
One Band-Aid?
One Band-Aid.
10 cents.
It's probably pennies or nickels. And we typically buy Band-Aids where?
Rite Aid.
At
Drugstores.
the drugstores, maybe the grocery stores, maybe the big box retailers. But we buy them by the pack. It's maybe a couple of dollars, but there might be 50 or 100 in the pack, and when you work it out, they're pretty cheap. 10 cents might even be high. What do you pay for a Band-Aid if you're getting ready to walk into an interview and you realize that you had cut yourself shaving and you're kind of bleeding and your interview starts in 30 seconds? What would you pay for a Band-Aid?
However much they ask, or the seller asks.
Well, $1 million? Okay,
well, not that much, but like.
What would you pay?
20 max.
Okay. You might certainly be in the dollars. You don't want to be in your interview like this with blood trickling down. So in that way, again, based on how bad you need it and what the time urgency is, and what your options are, where else do we pay a big premium for things based on where we are?
At the airport?
At the airports, things might be a little more expensive. At the movie theater, things may be a little more expensive. Any convenience store, you pay because it's convenient. Not necessarily because it's cheap. You pay a little bit more than you would pay at a grocery store. And so in that way, again, think about what customers are willing to pay based on what it is you're offering, what their options are, and the value they derive from it. What they currently pay competitors for near products, for similar products, is a guide for that as well. And also think about what's going to change in the future with that. So a second piece to look at are resources. So when we talk about resources, we often think about financial capital as a resource, but there are physical resources. There are intellectual resources, knowledge. There are human resources of people. And you may have the knowledge and the people that go hand in hand, or there might be other things that you're doing that are relatively low skilled, that you still need people, but you don't necessarily need a tremendous amount of knowledge to integrate that within your company. We've talked before, too, if you have relationships, and again, the human resources could factor that piece in as well. If you have relationships, you might be able to find people that know things. You might be able to find money. And so we want to think about who do we know as part of this equation as well. Now, activities, when you think about activities in the business model canvas, you'll focus there on what are the critical elements that make things work. What are you really going to focus on? What are the key, essentially, capabilities that you need to have within your company? And what do you really want to focus on being good at? Can you be good at everything?
No.
Difficult, particularly as a startup. But you can find those one or two things that are particularly important. And for Dell and pretty much any electronics manufacturer, they need to be very good at operations and supply chain and manufacturing and distribution. For other companies, again, McKinsey is one that's mentioned, but anything that is doing consulting or advising, again, problem solving broadly is what they have to be good at, but then they try and hire people that specialize in different areas. What do you do if you're not good at something, but you need to be good at it? You're good at some stuff, but you have other complementary
Experts.
You may hire experts, and that's where this element of partnerships come in. So you're going to be good at things, hopefully, but there are going to be other people that are better and or have relationships and or have other resources that you want to partner with them. And partnerships can come in a few different ways. But the fundamental takeaway here is recognize you don't need to do everything and be everything. And it's not uncommon, even with medium to even large hotels, that they may find someone to operate and own the restaurant in their hotel. Not rare that you may start a hotel, and to run a hotel is not a trivial thing. Why do they try and find